Students, in the last video, we have discussed about force acting on the charged particle when entering into magnetic field. And equation for force acting on the charged particle when it enters into magnetic field is F equal to Q into V bar cross B bar. This is the equation which we have got. And based on this, based on the direction of particle, angle between V bar and B bar, either the particle can make one complete revolution or it can just make half of the revolution and come out from the magnetic field, or it can pass undeviated. That depends on direction of velocity and as well as magnetic field, angle between V bar and B bar. Now we have one application based on this, and it is mentioned a charged particle of mass 5 milligram and charge plus 2 microcoulomb. The mass of the particle is given as 5 milligram, which is 5 into 10 power minus 3 gram. And charged particles charge is given as plus 2 microcoulomb, which is plus 2 into 10 power minus 6 coulomb. This you can convert it into kg. This become 5 into 10 power minus 6 kg. Because coulomb is in SI system, you need to convert all the units into SI system. Velocity V bar is given to you as V bar is equal to 2I minus 3J plus 4K. Find out the magnitude of force of the charged particle, force acting on the charged particle and its acceleration at this instant due to magnetic field. B bar is equal to 3J minus 2K. And it is also mentioned V bar and B bar are in meter per second and Weber per meter square respectively. So that is data given to you. Now F is equal to Q into V cross B. You are supposed to find out acceleration of the particle. At an instant, the charged particle enter into magnetic field. So whenever charged particle is entering into magnetic field, you can write F is equal to Q into V bar cross B bar. It is minus V bar cross B bar. It is 2 minus 3 and 4, and this is 0. It is 3 and this is minus 2. You should take cross product of this. Q value is already noted. It is 10 power minus 6 into I 3 to 6 minus 12 minus J into minus 4 minus 0 plus K into 6 minus 0. This is equal to 2 into 10 power minus 6 into minus 6I plus 4J plus 6K. This is force acting on the charged particle. Now I want to find out acceleration of the charged particle. But we know according to Newton law, acceleration can be written as force divided by mass m. What is force acting on the particle? It is 2 into 10 power minus 6 into minus 6I plus 4J plus 6K divided by mass of the particle is 5 into 10 power minus 6. 10 power minus 6, 10 power minus 6 gets cancelled. This gives you acceleration which is 2 by 5, but that is 5 fours 20, 0.4 into minus 6I plus 4J plus 6K. This is net acceleration of the charged particle. And if you want to find out the magnitude, you can just write it as under root a square x square plus y square plus z square. That gives you magnitude of the vector. simple question. Now you are being given a charged particle is having an acceleration a bar, which is 2I plus xj, and this is entering into a magnetic field b bar is equal to minus 3I plus 2j minus 4k. Find the value of x. So you are supposed to calculate value of x. So remember that whenever a charged particle is entering into magnetic field, the value the equation which you have is F is equal to Q into V bar cross B bar. This F can be written as M into A, which is Q into V bar cross B bar, right? Now clearly from this equation, you can decide that A bar should be perpendicular to V bar and B bar. Therefore, A bar dot B bar should be equal to 0 since A bar and B bar are perpendicular to each other. So A bar it is 2I plus xj, and B bar it is minus 3I plus 2j minus 4k. Dot product of these two vectors should be equal to 0. It is minus 6 plus 2x minus 0 equal to 0. So 2x is equal to 6, x is equal to 3. Therefore, x is equal to 3 is the value of this particular value. You can substitute that x is equal to 3 so that you will be getting net force acting, net velocity of the particle. So it is being given in this question, there is a proton, alpha particle, and as well as deuteron. So proton is charged particle, alpha particle is also charged, deuteron is also charged. Now these all are moving in the circular path with same kinetic energy and as well as same magnetic field. So magnetic field is the same for all the three, and also kinetic energy of alpha particle is equal to kinetic energy of proton is equal to kinetic energy of the deuteron. That's the data given to you, right? And we have radius of curvature r whenever a charged particle enter into magnetic field. We have derived equation for r. R is equal to mv divided by qb. Okay. Here the hint which is given to us is all the particles have same kinetic energy and the magnetic field is the same. Of course, charge will be variable for all the three particles. You are now supposed to find out ratio of the radii and also time periods. For that, we will first eliminate this mv and we will write it in terms of kinetic energy. We have kinetic energy is equal to p square divided by 2m, and from here p is equal to 2mk under root. So I can just replace momentum p is equal to mv. Instead of mv, I will write it as under root 2mk. Therefore, ratio of proton is to ratio of alpha particle is to ratio of deuteron is equal to under root 2 times mass of alpha particle, proton, into kinetic energy of the proton divided by charge of the proton into magnetic field is to under root 2 mass of alpha particle into kinetic energy of alpha particle divided by charge of alpha particle into magnetic field under root 2 times mass of deuteron, kinetic energy of the deuteron divided by charge of deuteron into magnetic field. Magnetic field is constant, so you can cancel that, and the kinetic energy of all the three particles is same, you can cancel that. So finally it is only dependent upon root mp divided by qp, root m alpha divided by q alpha, root md divided by qd, right? This is, we know that mass of the proton is 1 time, mass of alpha particle is 4 times that of proton, mass of the deuteron is also 4 times that of uh, proton, and charge of the proton is p, like you can consider it as q, and charge of alpha particle it is twice, and of course charge of the deuteron is also twice that of proton. So I can substitute all those values here. This will be finally giving you ratio after simplification. It is 1 is to 1 is to root 2. That is equation for radii of the charged particle. And next you are supposed to find out time period. Time period of proton is to time period of alpha particle is to time period of deuteron, which is equal to 2 pi m divided by qb. Here qp and mp, that is to 2 pi mass of alpha particle divided by q of alpha particle into magnetic field, that is to 2 times pi into mass of deuteron divided by q of deuteron into magnetic field. So substituting all the values, mass of alpha is 4 times that of mass of proton, and mass of deuteron also you need to substitute here, which is 2 times that of mass of the proton, and charge of the alpha particle is 2 times that of charge of the proton, charge of the deuteron is equal to that of charge of the proton. So what is deuteron actually? See, this is proton and this is deuteron, and what is alpha particle? Alpha is 2 4. So q of deuteron is equal to q of proton, and q of alpha particle is 2 times that of q of proton. Likewise, mass of deuteron is equal to 2 times mass of proton, mass of alpha particle is 4 times mass of proton. So you can take this, this is the ratio of their mass, this is the ratio of their charges, proton, deuteron and alpha particle. Substituting all those values here, you will be getting answer 1 is to 2 is to 2. This is how when different particles enter into magnetic field, even though magnetic field is the same, based on their velocity and based on their direction of velocity and also charge and mass, the radius of curvature will be different. You can identify the particle, what is its nature, by allowing all different particles to enter into magnetic field, and you can estimate their ratio corresponding to, like you can estimate their mass, you can estimate their radius, you can estimate their masses, charges, using this equation. Let us solve next question. A beam of protons with velocity 4 into 10 power 5 meter per second. Velocity of each proton is given as 4 into 10 power 5 meter per second. Enters a uniform magnetic field. B is equal to 0.3 Tesla at an angle 60 degrees to the magnetic field. So it is entering at an angle of 60 degrees to the magnetic field. So as the angle of particle is neither 0 nor 90, therefore obviously it should take helical path. So find radius of the helical path taken by the proton beam. You should calculate radius of the helical path and also find pitch of the helix. You should calculate pitch of the helix. Mass of the charged particle is given. Mass of proton as 1.67 into 10 power minus 27 kg. So whenever a charged particle enter into magnetic field with some particular angle, its radius of curvature is because of perpendicular component. Therefore, I can now write simply R is equal to m into v sine theta. This is the perpendicular component of velocity into qb. This is R equal to, mass is given to you 1.67 into 10 power minus 27. Velocity is 4 into 10 power 5. And sine 60. Sine 60 is root 3 by 2. And Q is charge of the proton. 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb. Magnetic field is 0.3 Tesla into 2. So if you calculate this total, you will be getting radius of curvature of the helical path. Next, you should find out pitch of the helical path. So in order to calculate pitch is equal to distance traveled. Distance traveled is equal to speed into time. So you should calculate time period. Speed of the particle is horizontal speed. You can write it as v into cos theta. And time period can be written as 2 pi r divided by v into sine theta. Okay, because time period is t is equal to distance travel, that is circumference, divided by speed. And what is this speed? It is perpendicular speed. The rotation is because of perpendicular component. So time taken is equal to circumference divided by perpendicular component magnitude, that I am substituting here. So you can take these values. P is equal to V and V gets cancelled, and it is cos theta by sine theta, that is cot 60 into 2 into pi is 3.14 into radius of curvature. Whatever the value you get here, that radius of curvature you need to substitute, so that you will be getting pitch of the helix. If you substitute all the values, you will be getting R as 1.2 centimeter, and P is, you should take this R 1.2 into 10 power minus 2 here in this place, and you will be getting pitch as 4.35 centimeter. Students, in the last few videos, we have learned when a charged particle enter into magnetic field, it will experience a force, and that force is given by Fleming's left hand rule, and that force F is equal to Q into V bar cross B bar. F is equal to Q into V bar cross B bar. But individual charged particle, like when we are considering current carrying conductor, we need not take individual charged particle. We will be taking a current carrying conductor. So we are now finding magnetic force on current carrying conductor. And this current carrying conductor has some length L. Let me consider current carrying conductor has some length L. Therefore, velocity of the charged particle, I can write it as total length travel into time taken t in order to cross that wire. So I'll just substitute that over here. F is equal to Q into L bar cross B bar divided by time taken t. This t you can write it here. It is Q by t into L bar cross B bar. What is Q by t? Q by t is equal to I. I is current carrying conductor. L bar cross B bar, which is F. and this can be simply written as F is equal to BIL sine theta n cap. This is force acting on the current carrying conductor, and the force experienced by this current carrying conductor is given by Fleming's left hand rule. Fleming's left hand rule, same to same like what we have done in case of F is equal to QVB. You can even take the same thing here also. This is left hand rule, Fleming's left hand rule. Thumb finger represents force. Thumb finger always represents force. This is force. And index finger always represents magnetic field. Index finger, that is fixed. Index finger always represents magnetic field. And the middle finger, if it is force on current carrying conductor, middle finger represents current. Whereas if it is force on charged particle, middle finger represents velocity. According to the equation, you need to decide whether it is I or whether it is V. Okay. Index finger is always magnetic field. There is no change in that, any equation it may be. And this is thumb. In both the cases, thumb represents force. But the middle finger, if it is charged particle, you should consider it as velocity. If it is current carrying conductor, you should consider it as current I, right? So F, B, I. F, B, I. This is how you can use left hand rule. You should put your index finger parallel to the magnetic field, thumb finger parallel to the force, then you will be getting current. If I and B is given, you will put for middle finger parallel to current and index finger parallel to magnetic field, and thumb finger gives the force acting on the charged particle. That's how, using left hand rule, you can find out force acting on current carrying conductor. Now here you can see a charged particle, like this is current carrying conductor in which there is some current. Now this current carrying conductor is placed in external magnetic field. Here it is horseshoe magnet. This is horseshoe magnet, and it is north pole and it is south pole. Magnetic field is into. So magnetic field is into, magnetic field is inside. If current carrying conductor, that means if current in the conductor is 0, even though there is magnetic field, force acting on current carrying conductor will be 0, right? If current is non-zero, if current is not equal to 0, then in such cases there will be force acting on the particle that depends upon the direction of current. For example, if the current is going in upward direction, if current is not equal to 0 and if it is going upward, then you should use left hand rule and you can calculate the magnetic force acting on the current carrying conductor. So magnetic field is into and force acting is current carrying conductor is placed like this. So I is upward, force acting on the conductor is left side because your thumb is representing left side. Therefore, upon this charged particle, force will be experienced left side. So this conductor moves left. Likewise, if the current is going in downward direction, if current is passing from up to top to bottom, magnetic field is inside, then you can just put your left hand rule like this. Magnetic field is into the plane of the board, into the plane, and current carrying conductor, current is going downward. This finger is parallel to the current. In this case, I am explaining now this case. Simultaneously, you see the screen and as well as my video. See here, current is downward. Therefore, I am putting my middle finger downward. Magnetic field is into the screen. Therefore, I am representing this into the screen. The force is represented by thumb. Therefore, force acting is represented right side. Therefore, this charged particle will experience a force right side. That is the way you can calculate force acting on the conductor. So whenever you are taking a charged particle, instead of taking charged particle, if you take current carrying conductor and if you place it in external magnetic field, it will experience a force BIL sin theta. And theta is angle between L bar and the B bar. Remember that. And force experience should be perpendicular to L bar and as well as B bar. L bar is length vector. It is always in the direction of I bar. I in which direction current is flowing. In that direction only you need to take L bar. And in the animation, you can see that clearly. Force is experienced here left side and force is experienced right side. If the direction of current is undergoing changed, then force also changes. The direction changes, but magnitude will remain same. Yeah. Students, we are taking two current carrying conductors. This is first current carrying conductor in which current is I1 and current is going upward. And this is second current carrying conductor and it is going upward, that is I2. And both are separated by some distance. I can consider this distance as D. Both are separated by some distance D, right? Now L is like I can consider length of the conductor, length of each conductor is L, and current is going in both the cases, current is going upward. These two are parallel current carrying conductors. I want to now calculate magnetic force between these two parallel current carrying conductors. So remember that because of current carrying conductor, there will be some magnetic field produced that we have discussed in Oersted experiment and also Biot-Savart law and Ampere's law. Now I am considering that you are taking this I2 in which because of this there is current carrying conductor, magnetic field B. Okay, and that magnetic field I am considering it as B2, right? Let B2 is the magnetic field produced due to current carrying conductor in which current is I2, right? Therefore, what is magnetic field produced here? B2 can be written as mu naught I divided by 2 pi r. Mu naught I divided by 2 pi r. Because of this long current carrying conductor, there will be magnetic field experienced by this second like magnetic field will be produced due to this second conductor on the first one. Now force acting on the first one will be equal to B2 I into length of the first one. So first one has, let me consider that first one has conductor length L1. Now what is B2? B2 is equal to mu naught I2. I'm sorry, this is I2. Mu naught I2 and this is 2 pi r. Instead of r it should be written as D because I am considering total distance as D in between these two wires. Mu naught I2 divided by 2 pi D into I1 because current in the first conductor is I1 and L1 is length of the first conductor. Okay. So as I am taking second conductor as infinite current carrying conductor, I am taking this as infinite current carrying conductor. You have took it as B2 is equal to mu naught I2 divided by 2 pi D. If not, if the second conductor is having some finite length, in such cases you need to take magnetic field equation which is B equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi A into sine theta 1 plus sine theta. But here the second conductor I am taking it as infinite, that's why I am taking here mu naught I divided by 2 pi r form. Now F1 can be written as F1 divided by L1 is equal to mu naught I1 I2 divided by 2 pi into D. 2 pi into D. This is force experienced by first conductor. First conductor due to magnetic field B2 produced by second conductor, right? And here force is positive. You are getting here F1 is positive. As F1 is positive, it is repulsive force. So as in both the cases, current carrying conductor is same direction. Therefore, magnetic field due to first one and the second one both are in the same directions. That's the reason why they will experience a repulsive force. Remember that. Likewise, if suppose in this case current is I1, in this case current is I2. Now let us see this case 2, where magnetic field current is going upward, therefore magnetic field here is B1, that is outward. And in this case current is in downward direction, magnetic field here is this. See, the current carrying conductor, as their directions are different, the force experienced here will be opposite to each other. Like you can take the first one, because of the first one magnetic field is inside, and because of the second one magnetic field is inside. And in the first case, because of current carrying conductor is like I1, it is above, so magnetic field here will be into, magnetic field here will be out. And because of this second one, magnetic field here will be outward, magnetic field here will be into. And because of this I1, magnetic field here will be into, magnetic field here will be outward. Likewise, because of this, magnetic field here will be into, magnetic field here will be outward, right? So as oh, I'm sorry, this is in the first case it is attractive. I'm sorry. So in the first case we have north pole and south pole. Let me take, this is north and this is south. So both are opposite to each other, like, therefore it is attractive force. I'm extremely sorry. That is attractive force in the first case. You can verify that here it is north and here it is south. One is into and the other one is out. That's the reason why it is attractive force. In this case, in the second one, everything will be as usual. Only the directions of magnetic field get reversed. As a result, you will be getting F1 is negative for second case. It is repulsive force. Okay, so this is how you can find out magnetic force between two parallel current carrying conductors. And remember, I am considering one as finite and the other one as infinite. That's the reason why in the denominator you are getting it as 2 pi d. If not, you will be getting in the denominator 4. Okay, so you should be cautious with this.